Right. Yeah, come on. Over here. Yeah, I forgot all about the meeting that's at the library yesterday, and lady in there says, "We got a meeting this week?" I said, I don't think so. So she brought her phone up. There it is. Planning advisory meeting tonight. Okay, so then I went home on my own, and then found it. Wife hadn't, checked the email, I guess.
Oh, you got people
Oh, I don't know her.
Not you. There we all are. You can have infinite glory.
Okay, at 6:30, I'm gonna call to order the planning advisory committee meeting for Wednesday, May 15th, 2024 at 6:30 PM. And before we begin our meeting, we'd like to acknowledge the Stewiacke, the Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. I believe there are regrets from David and from Charlene and for attendance. I'm looking for a change or approval of the agenda. Are there any changes? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Moved by Susan, second by Denver. Discussion on the motion.
Question.
The question has been called. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Looking for disclosure of interest on agenda items. Hearing none, moving to item number 5, and this approval minutes for PAC, April 17th, 2024. Any changes or additions?
I wasn't here, but if we go down to 5A, there's a new issue there. Combination of, I think, David and Denver, but I don't know
Yeah,
what it should be.
it's either me or David, one of the other.
Yeah.
I was thinking at that time.
And,
I went back to my notes and I saw that.
yeah, and Denver, I think your name is DEN, right? DERT?
Yep, not Dan, but it's Dan.
Yeah.
So corrected.
Any other changes? Okay, hearing none, can I have a motion to accept?
So,
So moved, seconded.
Sure.
Fine. Discussion on the motion. Question has been called. All in favor? Opposed? So moved.
I like the brief key of them. I like the short version. Thank you, sir.
I can't remember, if it was me or someone else,
I think you did though.
okay,
I think you did.
after short or after meeting, yes.
Okay, let's move into business. With that, the first is 6A, development agreement approach multi-residential, and that's over to you, Mr. Cook.
Okay. So there, I did do a little brief planning report. Basically. You probably recall, we talked about development agreements more than once in the past. But not for very many things. We talked about them for. We talked about them for multifamily a couple of times, the higher multi-unit development. We also talked about subdivision.
Whole package.
The whole package, okay. Here, I'll shoot them over. But we didn't have, and I think Denver and Dave both, you went to East Hampton and Dale arranged for a
Yeah.
meeting
Yes.
up there.
Yeah.
Which was good, and and one of the things John Woodford did kind of say, there's a lot more work to them, you're gonna have some good people to administer them, and now that we have a qualified development officer who has done probably dozens of development agreements, has been a Truro for 20 years, I'd say. Then it's great to have that guidance. I know about the theory of them, but I don't really know the practical parts of them are. I've never done one, I've never processed one or anything like that. So anyway, I went to see Jason a couple of weeks ago, just to, he was a bit familiar, and Elliot, before I get ahead of myself. This project at the end of Garden Gate was kind of what prompted us to take a more serious look at, this approach. Because here was a case where 4 buildings. It is designated service residential, so the R3B zone would apply here. But because there's no road, really any road frontage for it, wouldn't be something that I could recommend that it be zoned R3B. The road alone would be, no, not, there's criteria that would kind of say, no, that doesn't meet that criteria. And actually, if you look at this configuration, it's questionable. This was done a long time ago. I don't know whether anybody would approve those subdivisions today, like with those long, narrow things circling around the cul-de-sac way at the bottom. And one of the lots actually is on a right of way, which is not usually permitted in towns. But we did that for Prestige Homes that way back. And that must be that close to 10 years ago now. Anyway, I said, one of the things I asked Jason was, what do you think? You think, and they do have policies in there. The policy that doesn't have to be on a public road. But he looked at this, said, no, this is a candidate, this should be on a public road. The road should be upgraded, to public road status, and so then it became the case, well, the developer wouldn't want to do that, be reluctant, and I don't blame him, saying, I think it'd be pretty expensive. He might get some help from some neighboring properties, they'd benefit from it. But to go to all that expense and not be guaranteed a development would. He was in a month or so ago, and that's what kind of, Kevin and I met with him, kind of what he said, it's too risky, basically. And I said, well, we don't have development agreements, but we can look at that, and that should be able to spell everything in. Here's what the town has to do, here's what you have to do, build the road, and here's what can be built, and here's the timing of the buildings. So I said, yeah, that makes sense. So I did send them some stuff in development agreements, and one of the things he really liked about them was you're able to do subdivision. You're able to subdivide each lot its own lot without it meeting the subdivision bylaw. The MGA says that you can approve a subdivision that doesn't meet the subdivision bylaw, but if it meets the development agreement, then you're fine, so something like that. So anyway, I just thought we'd take a minute and maybe take a look at the Callback Street one. Just, I think you're pretty familiar with what's in there, but these are things that you wouldn't find in a land use bylaw necessarily. Like, if you look at part 3.13, all structures are maintained in good repair. All landscaping maintained. No emissions shall be generated. I mean, you can add some of those things, but it's a lot easier if they're black and white in an agreement. So here, you're obviously in violation of agreement. Do it. And the same with 3.2, 3.2.1. There's some flexibility on architectural design. And then the architectural drawings become part of the agreement, so they have to build to what the site plan what the building, so people know what the building's gonna look at before there's ever a development permit issue.
In a lot of cases, then. You wouldn't have to rewrite the whole development. A lot of these things are already wrote.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, when we start working with a developer on doing one for him, I mean, you'll
Yeah.
help him, because I don't know unless he gets a lawyer to do it. We'll just pull some of the things from here, yes.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just go on and read.
Yeah, just whatever applies.
To that.
Yeah.
A lot of it will apply to
Yep.
each and every one.
Everyone, yeah. No, I imagine every development agreement in the province for multi-unit development is pretty much the same. You've got a lot of the same language. And another one that you can get at a lot better with development agreement is stormwater management. And so what they have to do, they have to come up with a stormwater management plan that we should get an engineer to check, actually. I don't know how if Jeff can do it or not, but they do a stormwater stormwater plan, we look at it and like in Truro, they have engineers to do that. You know, they just send it to the
We
engineer.
have an agreement with we get CUCL.
Yes, yeah. So that's another good advantage, especially in these times of, real bad rain events and more vicious storms. Oh, yeah, and another thing about this new road too going in. There'll have to be, my way of looking at it, there'll have to be another access point for a future road, which probably will go by that first lot on the left, which is a vacant lot. It's owned by Vernon or from his companies, and I've told him about it. I said, Vernon, we need another exit because, that's too long a road without an exit. Then he kind of understood, and I said, if this road is built up, the public and taken over by the town, well, that lot, you own it now, but that lot is really gonna benefit because you probably get 2 or 3 lots fronting right on this new road. And the road reserve, as it's built in future, will open up some more lots on the back of that land. So I didn't hear back from any of that, but he should realize that yeah, it's the emerging exit is good, needed anyway. Another exit is needed and it'll benefit his land. And the other developers on the right-hand side, the other businesses, they would benefit too from having that, Right now, I think they just have real long laterals that probably have to replace it sometime. So instead of a long lateral, when it comes time, they'll have the roads there, they'll just have the regular lateral, just going straight out to the street. So this stuff. Anyway, so, yeah, stormwater management is a good one. Lighting, on the next page is 328. Now, parking is kind of interesting. The one before that. Pro just basically pulls in, you can use some elements of the land use bylaw, but you don't have to use any of them, you can change them or whatever. They basically, I think, stick to what they have in the land use bylaw, so we have 1.5 parking spaces for dwelling unit. Some people think that's too many these days. These people might be living in the city where there's a bus service. We'll probably stick with that, but that's another kind of negotiating. The developer might say, well, I'd like to only provide, 1.25 spaces per dwelling unit. And we don't say, no, we want to stick with. So I stick with that, what we have in the land use plan. Yeah, and the lighting's easier to, these are just common sense things. The lighting is easier to handle in a development agreement. Maintenance, operation and maintenance is covered. Hours of construction, you can even put hours of operation in a development agreement. That doesn't really apply to, I don't think that would apply to a residential building, but if we did a development agreement for a commercial at some point, then you could bring in hours of operation. Anyway, that's kind of and then the next page is the timing, part 7. So this one was 4 years, 7 years, and 10 years. So we'll see, we'll have to see as we get more information about our services, what time limits we want to put on them. And actually, the way this is structured, it's got to be complete within 4 years. And I have to check the MGA, but I think you could say shall not be built until between say 4 and 6 or something like that. Shall not be built between 7 and 10 or something.
Or phase 2 can't be.
Yeah.
Started until phase 1's complete.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's
So-
the idea.
Yeah, something like that. And I think the developer does understand that, upgrades to the water system are needed before he's gonna go too far with this. He'd like to get a building the next year. I don't know if that's possible. But we'll see. Anyway, that's what the development agreement looks like. And if you want to go back to my report, I did put some draft policies. So this is the policy or something like it that will go into our municipal planning strategy. Well, I was gonna get you to bring up um, future land use manual. But anyway, if you look at policy A, this only applies in areas that are designated service residential. So basically, it's the areas of the town that are service residential. This is the zoning map, and more or less mirrors it. In other words, right now, it doesn't apply to any commercial at all. Now, there's good things about that, and that means good things, but there's some other things we might think about. I put it in the report there. If we were to broaden that to say, well, we are gonna have it apply not only to service residential, but also commercial. Now, there is no height limitation in highway commercial, but there now is, or soon be official in the downtown commercial. So I don't know what to think about that. Whether we should broaden it to include the downtown, which means the developer that's thinking of the Foodland site would have an opportunity to go to 6 stories through a development agreement. Which some people might say, well, we just passed a rule that should be 4 stories, now you're trying to circumvent it, basically. The difference in a way is with a development agreement, you know what you're getting. You know where the site is, you know what the buildings look like. And you can bring in some criteria that would, if it was too high a building, that could be grounds for refusing. If you look at policy C, which is when considering a development agreement application according with policy H, it'll be the policy of council with regard to the following. Well, the very first, the first 2 actually are compatibility of the proposed land use with adjacent land uses, compatibility of the adjacent structures in terms of height, scale, lot coverage, density, and bulk. So there's 2 fairly strong. If a 6-story building was, people thought it was too violated those criteria, well, then you'd say, no, we're sorry, we don't want that. Maybe another area of the downtown commercial, a 6-story building might work better. Like maybe the school site, the old school site, I don't know. But I don't know which way to go with that. What's, anybody have any thoughts on that? And we should just leave it for service residential for now. And get this one done, this will deal with Kansas.
There'd be a case where they'd want a commercial in that residential.
Well, that's another thing, he says no. He says no right now. But we could say, we could put something in here that says, service residential. We put something in to say, commercial uses on the ground floor, that'd be the only one, shall also be considered. Probably wouldn't hurt to do that. It's still only going to apply to residential areas, but it does give them opportunity to put commercial uses in. He said he's not interested. No, nobody would like to go up that street for a commercial. He might change his mind. But anyway.
Well, it's,
Money talk.
well, it was the way, when the map was showing it as C2, all of a sudden there was interest in commercial, just to be able to put
A building
a
up.
few stories of residential over top of a commercial, be able to build a residential building that way.
Yeah,
They were quite interested then.
yeah. But now we've got to confirm it is zoned commercial. It is zoned residential, designated residential and zoned.
This is,
Yeah, the top one, the top one. And I remember we had an interesting discussion back in 2010 about that. Because they said, well, we have commercial already on one side of it,
yeah,
but there were a special commercial, just really only there because of visibility from the highway. The other part of it, not so much. And Vernon never did get any kind of a proposal for commercial up there in the 14 years since.
Hmm.
That I know of, he never said anything about it anyway. And,
Of course, Vernon's house is in there too.
yeah, and his house is in there,
Yeah,
and there's land,
It's
land.
listed for sale forever as commercial property.
Yeah.
That's commercial.
Yeah,
Yeah, which is too bad, that he didn't realize it. I mean, I thought Sheldon talked to him about it, I can't remember now. But what should have happened, he should have, when the document's ready, he should have looked at it, if we were thinking of doing something and said, wait a minute. That's on commercial, or that's on residential, I want commercial, but he never did, in all these years he thought it was commercial only, yes. But anyway, that's just too bad. Yes, I think you're right, good point then, but I think we'll put a phrase in there that says something like. Commercial uses may also be considered on the ground floor. Don't have to, but if you want to throw it in there, we will be considered.
Well, in a place like this is 200 units, may want to put a variety store or whatever
Yeah,
in it
yeah,
for the tenants,
for the tenants, yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, anyway, anyway, that would be up to the developer, but
There's no money you can be in the stores anymore.
it's up to the developer, but it's another idea he can look at without being cut off completely. So I think we'll put that in. And what do you think? Keep it just residential or yeah, okay.
I think for now, we
For now, and then we'll see how this goes and yeah. Yeah, I tend to think that's probably the best way, because,
Better to walk. before you
and,
try.
well, and Jason's had experience with this too, and you know, he said, they can go eight stories as of right. But higher as a development agreement, and he said it hasn't really worked out well. Once you start talking that way, not only on this, but in other things, people just think you're trying to, you know, circumvent the system and, you know, it doesn't go over well. It sounded like he had a couple of bad experiences with it.
So this over here, that's as of right.
Food land? Yeah, it's as of
As
right,
of right.
that's as of right, yeah.
Because
Because we put residential uses in the downtown zone when Chad wanted to build an apartment building. That was about 6 years ago now,
this one.
yeah.
Right.
He could only get apartments there if he had commercial on the bottom. But he didn't want to do that. So he applied to say, oh, I will build a completely commercial building. And we had, you know, reasonably good debate about it, actually. Some people thought, no, let's leave it commercial. Other people thought, no, we need the development. This must be 6 years ago now. So we need the development, you know, it's gonna be good to have the people living downtown. It's better than a vacant lot, that kind of, you know, that kind of discussion took place. And in the end, we did,
I'm still confused how, as of right, he can build a 6-story on the food land.
because we didn't have any height limitations.
We had no limitations, and he's already applied,
Yeah. But
or you're looking sideways.
Well, I'm asking for.
I tell you that there's some confusion. He might not, if that goes through. If the amendment becomes official, right,
For a 4-story.
for up to 4 stories. We may be too late to take advantage of the 6-story proposal we put in some time ago.
He hasn't applied for
A development, building
permit
permit,
or anything.
A development permit only, not the building permit.
not the building permit.
Ah, okay.
And the lawyers have looked at it and said, he's got to have it in, he's got to have his building permit done, I guess, before he can go ahead with 6 stories. So,
So the timing's gonna be.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot to these building permits, right, with a building like that. Engineers and everything are involved in it, and so I mean, maybe, but
So it may not happen.
may not happen. May not happen, yeah, may not happen. Anyway, okay, that's good, we'll go with just service residential and, you know, we can bring the other one forward at some other point. And the reason I picked 3 stories as the limitation, because R3A, you get 3 stories, but R3B, there's no height in the R3B one. So at least this puts some, you know, a little bit with the criteria, put some controls on it. Although we did have some controls with the rezoning. It did say something like adjacent uses. But I think, you know, the higher ones should go, and they're bigger, they should go by the development agreement, now that we got some good folks to a good fellow to look after it. Okay, I don't have anything more on that, so, oh yes, and I took the criteria, I went over them briefly, policy, see that criteria is right from Truro. You know, that adequacy of sewer services, water services, waste management services, stormwater. Contributes to an orderly and compact development pattern. Yeah, schools. Recreational. I mean, we'll have to go through all those in more detail once the policy's in place.
So the elevation of these, how does that relate to the sewer?
Well, there might have to be a pumping station. Yeah. Which will, I asked Jason about that. He said, yeah, make sure the pumping station is their responsibility. Don't do one on your own. We may have to, the town may have to improve the existing services on that cul-de-sac in order to receive it. Well, I think Jeff thought the sewer's okay. He thought there might only be a 4-inch water. So we might have to, you know, you could put that off on the developer. Usually, if it's public infrastructure, it should be public expense. And the way Jason put it was, yeah, you might want to take the cost of that. I mean, you're getting the assessment from all these buildings. So you might, I don't think it'd be a big project.
So you're saying that maybe from the road to this particular point?
Yeah.
or Whatever the distance is.
Take four line out and put a 6-line in. Sort of thing. But it's not that far. That cul-de-sac doesn't win very far.
Wouldn't be a great cost.
I wouldn't think. But anyway, that's another thing we have to,
I thought originally we said it was 1,200 feet back there,
okay, 1,200 feet.
if I remember correctly, because we weren't allowed to have a cul-de-sac that far
Oh,
back.
yeah, okay, but that was the next,
And at the time, we said, we'll allow this to go back there 1,200 feet or something,
yeah,
something like that.
something like that.
That's not paved up there. Not so big.
No.
So back to us on development agreement, not only for this property, for us, period. So what do we need to do?
Well, right now, we're just doing it for this one. We could open it up, open up to commercial, but we didn't. We decided not to.
No, but okay,
But
but
if-
other residential
Well, I don't see the need for other residential myself
today.
today.
But
I mean,
putting-
possibly-
I guess if you're putting, I guess my point is, if you're gonna have a policy for residential, it should be a policy for residential, not a.
Well,
Probably gonna do development agreement for one project
That's
and
what I
not
was
everything
thinking.
else.
no, it'd be for anybody who wants to do a multifamily. It'd be for anybody that wants to do a multifamily.
Yeah.
But it won't be anybody who wants to do a 2-unit. It won't be anybody that wants to do a multifamily building of less than 3 stories. I mean, we can do it that way if you want. But it's for everybody, but it's just, people pick out particular uses.
Mhm.
They wanna process by development agreement, and it's never a single family, it's never 2-unit, it's never small commercial. It's often big apartment buildings and some, you know, more intensive commercial operations. Some people use it for commercial operations too, but I would just say it's just gonna be for anybody in future that wants to put a building up of 4 stories or more in the service residential zone. That's what.
Yeah, so that applies to the whole town.
Yeah, the whole
Okay.
town, yeah. Well, the whole town that's residential.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all residential in the town.
Yeah, that's right. So if I had 3 or 4 R2 lots, I wanted to put them together and apply for a high R3 building, I could apply. you know, high, four-story building, I could apply.
This also applies to Beverly Lake
Yeah,
in the section that we,
yeah. Now, I think what we'll do with that is, and then the second policy there, policy shall not apply to areas that are currently zoned multi-unit, which they will be. So basically, what's zoned and proposed will stay multi-unit. It's just new ones after that. That'd be hit by the, yeah, the thing, yeah. Yes.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, yeah, I think we've got a good job on that one, and we'll talk about public participation a little later.
so yeah,
What's the next one?
going ahead from tonight on this, what happens now?
Okay, well, that goes us right into number two, number B. We have to have a public meeting. Probably something like the one we had a couple of months ago. Kevin said he could pitch in and he said he
Do it.
he's good at that, I think, and better than I am. I'm terrible at public speaking and it'd be nice to have the help. And so that would be the one of them, and we even picked a date, June the 8th, and that's a Saturday.
I'm busy.
Are you busy?
I have the community center booked for my daughter's birthday, so if you're doing it up there.
Guess what, the community center book for this too, so you can just, we could be on one side of the temporary divider looking around, yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should go for the Saturday after.
I don't know who's got one of it, I'll have to check with availability again,
It
yeah,
was booked Saturday after.
I think so.
Yeah, it was.
I mean,
It was the only day I could get, that's why I did it.
I really don't anticipate this one here being generating very much public interest, to tell you the truth.
So what time is yours? Of the day?
I said 1 to 3.
Okay. 3:05. Yeah, it's your birthday party going, kids, look how loud those are.
She's turning 10, it's Taylor Swift, I mean, y'all are like, oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, we could always look at, we had something at a church down here one time, a long time ago. That church down there.
Village,
Yeah,
hospitality.
yeah.
The Baptist Church.
Baptist church.
Baptist church.
Whatever.
That was for Wendy's multi-family. Remember when Wendy did
I
it?
know the place.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So maybe we get,
Well, I'll check with Aaron.
yeah,
Or the Legion.
Yeah.
Legion maybe, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't mind having it on the 8th.
If you get much later, you're gonna have trouble
Getting
beating your summer plan.
And I'd like to get it before council to get it going, even though, you know. I think Hans does realize that. It's not gonna be tomorrow.
Yeah,
This is well, but he even said this is a long-term project. He's in it for a long-term project, so. So if he's got that attitude.
So we need to get our groundwork done first.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe he's not in a big rush for it. But if it has to be the July meeting for council, then that's the way it goes. Okay, the other one, we're gonna knock off some stuff that we talked about. Is accessory buildings. Accessory dwelling units. The one where East Kansas got it, I think Truro's got it now. I have a residence on my house, on my lot, I can put an apartment in. Or I can renovate a building out back and have a residence there. And you see them actually more and more in HRM. I think there was even something with a rebate from HRM to 25,000 or something.
They have a rebate.
Do they? You know, and the one good thing about it, if we get that through, the feds, Kevin's been trying to get a straight answer from the feds about how, you know, about density and whether or not you absolutely need, you know, have more than a single unit zone in order to qualify. It certainly sounds that way. But this would be at least a step forward. This, if we got this through, there would be no more single unit zones because R1 zone, you'd be able to get a 2-unit. So that would be a help. Along those lines. So. I was
So
thinking,
just to clarify, what did you say? There'd be no more single family dwelling zones?
there'd be no more zones that the only permitted use is single family. Because if this accessory dwelling is through, you can get your accessory dwelling.
What is happening is rumored to be happening is a lot of this money that was promised for housing and infrastructure to support housing. The most telling example is in Prince Edward Island. The city of Charlottetown said, no, we are sticking with our R1, we're R1 is R1 is R1, they got $0. Summerside says we'll allow up to 4 units in the R1 zone, they got millions thrown at them.
And I mean, HR,
For water and sewer and stuff to
Yeah.
be able to support it. And that's, so it's, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, so you know, the town has to factor in, okay, are residents willing to pay a 40% increase in water rates to maintain our exclusivity of an R1 zone, that's maybe why I'm saying, is that your trade-off?
and HRM are going full tilt. The ads are out now, and the way they put it is urgent amendments to the planning documents needed. It even mentions the accelerator.
And there's been threats in Ontario. Because I know Premier Ford come out and said, well, I've been told that if I don't allow for it, we're getting nothing, I don't appreciate being told, and then. Halifax is worried the minister here is gonna step in, and if they don't do it, the minister's just gonna come in like he did on a couple other cases and just say. We're taking over planning in the whole province. That's, or in your city.
At least in the city there.
They're in the cities pretty much saying, if you don't follow what I want, we're taking over, so. I,
Now, another way
it's
of,
great, it's a crazy world right now.
another way of looking at it too is, we could just say, let's just have one low density residential zone. The R2 zone, basically, so all the R1 zone would be zoned R2. There's. I think you can get 2 units, but not 3 unless it's converted. And then arguably, you wouldn't even need the accessory dwelling things, you can get your 2 units anyway.
The only thing I think going for us is a negotiation point might be to say is, can we grandfather our existing developed R1? And say, all right, our existing R1 maybe with some accessory use. Or not.
Accessory dwelling.
If we commit, we're not gonna create any new
Yeah,
R1.
yeah, there is,
That's the only thing we've done, is we have the land capacity compared to a lot of other.
and there is a fair amount of vacant land that's on R1.
Oh, tons of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that's where you may see them step in and say, okay, you're vacant land. you can't do it.
yeah.
Take your
That would be what-
now.
That might be a compromise either way.
Yeah, that might be a kind of.
We just don't know,
Yeah.
And all of a
unfortunately.
sudden you tell them, now we're looking, you let your neighbor put another house in their lot, it's gonna.
Yeah.
It's gonna be. a-
So, you know, I think as we start with the approach and say, we're open to development, we're open to density, we need money to be open to density, because we have proposed developments, you can see we've zoned R3Bs. And when there's got lots more land we can zone for multi-use residential, if you give us the money for infrastructure, they might be okay with it. So, but we just need answers, and we can't get it. As is often cases with senior levels of government, and good luck with that for a while, until they make political announcements, and then they give it to their bureaucrats to take a year and figure out how to implement
Interesting.
Yeah,
it. So, I mean, that's the world we're
Tug?
looking at.
Maybe, no, I'm just,
So, like I say, it's not something to, you know, it's to keep in our mind, we don't abandon our R1 right away, but it's, you know.
yeah, that might be the two biggest step. Maybe we try it for the accessory dwelling units and see how that plays in.
well, people have been very passionate about their R1 here.
Yeah.
We did a survey of them here not that long ago,
Well, that's
And
one of the
they-
big concerns.
and they
That
wanted
meeting
there
up
are
there,
ones.
Protecting your neighborhood.
for Protecting your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, that
Well,
would be
that's
for
maybe my
our one,
neighborhood.
that's 90 acres.
Get $600,000-700,000 dwelling on the property, and all of a sudden. You're turning that all around,
Yeah.
I think you're gonna have a.
Well, I mean, I think it's worth, hearing what people have to say.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea, maybe we can negotiate But then
I
there's
can see
open
taking
land,
part two,
potentially.
but you got certain areas that are one,
I'm passionate about my everyone.
Yeah.
Like, I'm one of them ones, that
Yeah.
I am passionate about.
You guys would be too.
Yeah.
but I like the idea of the accessory building. What's the difference, accessory building or a duplex?
Mhm.
It's just another attached.
Yeah, well, you can control the size a little bit more.
Depends on how much you like your in-laws. how
Yeah,
big-
yeah.
Yeah, how far away could they?
Yeah, and sometimes you run into, you get communities that they love their R1 until they gotta find a place for their mother.
That's right, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, they put them in one thing with car garage.
Yeah,
Sorry, Mary.
I like the idea of the accessory building,
Yeah,
and I like to someday to downsize more money in. And give my house to my kids and own kids, and I'm going a little place. I'd be happy.
Of course, you got a duplex now.
Well, see, I guess you can call them duplex.
You almost have to.
So we'll just go with the accessory dwelling.
In-law suite.
In-law suite.
well, we might as well find, if it's no point in, it's good to find out.
Yeah, yeah.
If the categorical no, then we know that's.
At least people,
Yeah.
people will still be having their R1 zone, and just be opportunity for some people to have a. And maybe it's, if it's restricted in size, and maybe we restrict it to.
yeah. I mean,
Something, you know, you could put any restrictions you want on it. The building only, the dwelling only, you know, and
But didn't a lot of this come along because of scarcity of land to build these places on? Well, the town of Stuyak probably has what, 1,000 acres that's vacant?
Exact opposite.
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
So. Do we have any requests for building anything in the backyard?
I don't think there's been many, has there?
Not that I'm aware of.
And, I mean, we might put it in and maybe we won't get any. Possibly won't get
I
any,
can see that, happening.
yeah.
Let's keep progressing.
So anyway, those are the two,
As housing prices go up,
Oh,
they're gonna be more common.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
There
I
would.
mean, there's a lot of families with their kids still in the
Not that
basement.
it's easy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and they get married and they're still in the basement.
Just gotta get the most.
Their kids are still, their kids.
Keep that basement door locked, just in case.
Yeah, down here, boomerangs.
Okay, we're good to move on?
Yeah, I think we're agreeing that we'll just do the accessory dwellings, never mind messing with the R1 zone at this point.
Yeah,
You're gonna buy Kevin Moon's location.
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah, talk to everyone, where we do this.
So the 8th would work if it was 3 o'clock for you, wouldn't it? But you're not gonna be here, Susan.
no, and I'm not available.
No, it wouldn't work for me.
Okay, would-
But.
There's we can make after birthday, I know.
And after.
yeah, it'd be really hard to fit, it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just we're running out of time to.
Um,
something
Yeah,
before the
for the
summer.
public, you need to get it early in June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, maybe the Legion,
Yeah,
but we're missing 2 PAC members though. That's the problem.
Oh,
But it could be an evening.
well, we have been, in our last public meeting, we didn't have all of us there. Did we?
No, it didn't involve us, but the more the better. Yeah, we had pretty well all, I think.
I was there.
Yeah, I think-
You was there.
I think, I don't think,
Maybe we were.
yeah, I think you were all there. And really the way it's supposed to work in a way, I thought that was gonna be just a drop-in.
Well, that's it, yeah, no break.
Because that's what it said in the notice.
Also, you can reform.
it's like church suppers, you come one, they all meet, it starts at 4, they're in the yard at 3 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
Also, it went well.
Oh, yeah, it did go pretty well. Everybody was pretty respectful and the questions were good. No, it went well. But usually it's the PAC should be up on the desk, not just me. I think Charlene was beside me, but.
I thought that looked good.
Anyway, yeah, we think
Next time,
it's not absolutely necessary,
but it is good.
but you were right up. so-
And you, my role, we introduce certain members and then pass off type thing.
Yeah,
I think
it doesn't have to be, but I was on the PAC with Halifax for 4 years, I guess, and we always were.
By the front.
Overlooking everybody.
Oh, it's not bad.
Well, if everybody doesn't know that, who we all are.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was opened up, people know.
Yeah.
You know where to come to.
Yeah,
Okay, open space or cash?
yeah, that should be cash. We've talked about this lots of times,
I thought we settled it.
well, we do have it in the MPS. But only cash in lieu. We never amended the subdivision bylaw. I think it is time to amend the subdivision bylaw. Let's get it done.
To say it's cash only.
Yeah, right now, because we don't,
want the land.
well, we'll get the recreation people to look at that. And decide. And you'd say, well, if the subdivision is over, if a tender plan is over, or land holding is over, I don't know, 20 acres, we want land. If it's under 5 acres, we want cash. Like, there's all kinds of ways of, but it's gotta be spelled out.
Yeah,
gotta
I
spell it
mean,
out.
do you want something, a strip along the side to develop your trail system? Or, it's far enough away from downtown, do you want, a small playground to be in the community so the kids don't have to go all the way down?
You
to
know,
the
I
playground?
was thinking like Perry Lake, if that really took off,
Yeah.
Nice to
to
have
have
something
a
up
little
there.
Especially-
playground up there, cause your kids aren't gonna
Well,
climb
Yeah.
that death trap of the
Yeah.
highway.
a garden gate,
Yeah.
that goes ahead.
Yeah.
We should, I would take some land just so you can connect the trail system and have a playground there, so you don't want kids having to come up through that, walk through that exit.
Who pays for a playground in that house?
Development
Well,
agreement.
sometimes you
We
work
do
out,
that.
That's right, maybe.
yeah,
that's
well,
what
you
we're
get
gonna have
cash,
something.
so what often happens, you can have a bunch of small subdivisions, you get the cash from some of these small ones, and it goes in a fund.
Yeah. You can only
And
use it.
then, so the big one comes and then say, all right, we'd like 5% equals this. Well, we take half of that value in cash, half the land, we use the cash, to put some playground in, or some
So the
recreation.
town takes money and puts the.
Yeah, and in some case, in Kings County, actually, no, the land is there and we will, the community group. We participated in the initial development, the community group agrees to maintain it, sort of thing, there'd be a.
Right, okay.
Now, I'd have to talk how well those are still work with people in Kings, how well they're still working 35 years later, whether the playgrounds are still being maintained or not, but.
Yeah, yeah, the money can only be used for capital. But it's interesting, made an amendment a while back now, the interest from it can be used for maintenance.
mm,
And some people did have big funds after a while.
Yeah.
Just kept taking the cash and,
So do we have we been or?
no, we have never done it.
Not for years, it
No.
was done at one
So
time.
yeah, I think you remember, but when the new documents come in 2010. We never did it, I don't know.
I used to have the receipt.
Is there a playground where the trailer park is? I don't remember seeing that, but there's a whole pile of young people out watching.
mhm,
I mean, there's a place, there should be a playground. Cause they're not gonna truck all the way down here unless they're doing the splash pad thing.
mhm.
And I suspect, but I can't prove it, I suspect that a lot of them are not gonna be mobile during the day. One bit right there. Yeah, so there's an ideal place. Particularly if it gets expanded and some of those trailers, I call them trailers. Are not very cheap.
And we don't have to have public participation for that, it's a subdivision bylaw, the policy's already in the MPS. So basically, that'll go right to council, maybe the next committee of the whole.
Well, it's combined for this month,
Okay,
and so if we don't have the amendments ready
yeah.
tomorrow or Friday, we're probably to go to June.
Yeah,
We should do June.
Yeah, June.
yeah. And I mean, if the recreation people, have time to look at it and say, well, listen, we like the cash, the cash, but we wanna put some. Maybe we wanna put something in that if it's big enough subdivision, we want the land,
Mhm.
so. I know they're all busy, but they might be able to come up with some,
And when we talk about subdivisions, so if somebody sells a building lot. But they're not, selling multiple building lot, applies to that building lot as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't apply where there's no new lots being created, so if you have two lots, put them together, that doesn't apply to that. And some actually, I think, restricted where there's gotta be more than one lot, maybe it's gonna be two lots, but most of them go with any increase in the number of lots. And that'd be a case where it would be cash, for sure.
But, okay, so then say it was a subdivision with whatever number, 25 lots or more,
Yeah,
we'll take the land.
yeah, Yeah, maybe you could do it that way.
Or location in the town.
Or location in the town.
Identify some
Or it
areas.
could be the location in the town, yeah.
Yeah, it may not be a suitable location to get, because sometimes if you say, oh, you don't wanna say, well, accept any 5% land, because that's when you get a swamp.
I was
Yeah.
gonna
Right.
say.
No, and the act does say usable, and
Yeah.
yeah.
It's who's always, yeah.
And they, and they
Sounds
do,
like we need a development agreement here.
and they, yeah, they do define use.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, but I've seen some questionable ones come in that got turned down, no, for land. No.
Well, of course, they take the worst piece of land they've got in their side.
Yeah.
They say, here, take this.
Yeah,
And then we're stuck with a piece of swamp.
yeah. It's usually not swamp and not steep, usually the two definitions that are used for usable land.
Yeah. We have to put something in there.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good then.
Future action, great.
Future actions, well,
just one thing I'll bring up under that, so there's been a lot of talk, you've heard about infrastructure charges. So John Woodford from East Hampton is coming to the council meeting on the 23rd over the community center. To present to council about how that's worked in East Hampton. And so this is an invitation to all PAC members, you're more than, we encourage you to come and hear that, because the council decides to go with that, you have to amend the NPS, you have to amend the land use bylaw, and you have to amend the subdivision bylaw to do it. But it's, again, it's a way to help fund.
future works.
Where if we have to, for example, if we got a 6-inch sewer line, we have to upgrade to 8, there's a way to fund it in the future. For future expansion, so we're looking at trying to do that, so we can build up a pot of money to help do expansion, as all this, once we get our plants upgraded, that the way for future expansion of other means.
Was this day and time?
Next Thursday.
Certain June the 20, or May the 23rd, there's the 2 public hearings and then the council meeting, so anytime
Busy
after,
day.
anytime after 7 o'clock.
After 7.
We'll
Yeah,
be there till about 11.
well, no, we sort of, I think we have a,
We have a caveat.
I think we have an agreement amongst council, we're gonna stop at 9 o'clock and carry over to the following week. if we have
Unless
to.
we're very productive.
Unless you're this close to the end line, yeah.
And the only other thing, still be nice to get planning documents replaced. Jason Fox is so busy, he can't really take much planning on it right now, actually. It's good that he's helping with the development agreements, that's for sure. His help will be much needed there, but they don't have the capacity to come in and do a lot of it's public participation. But we're knocking off a few of them with our small public participation, and there's no doubt about it, a public participation on 2 new documents is not as good for the public to digest and make comments on, because, could be 20 changes in there. Where if you kind of piecemeal it out, they know what you're talking about. There's 2 topics, we've done 2 last time, it'll be 2 more. There's not too much more that we talked about other than a super small lot size for tiny homes. We did talk about that. And we did talk about reducing the frontage for mini homes out in the wherever mini homes are allowed. Right now, they're 50 feet. We talked about reducing that frontage to 20 feet, which is not a bad idea. So they'd be going, perpendicular to the road instead of sideways. But in this day and age where we need lots of housing, might be a good thing. But anyway, I think I'll plug away at doing the new documents, and it's got the ICSP in there as well, which I could probably update. Some of the policies are pretty old. Some of the policies are still valid. Like we have a policy in there way back in 2010 that we should do a transportation plan, but that never got done. And still looks more relevant today than ever. And then Kevin was telling me that, there might even have to be a strategic planning exercise at some point, but get all these different documents kind of talking about the same thing, it gets confusing. A little bit.
What was the discussion on the tiny homes?
Well, it was, this was when Joe Lee wanted real small lots.
Right.
And Dale was all for this, right? Dale really did promote this tiny home. Remember, he dragged us all over to the.
Oh, yeah, you're.
And I don't have anything against them. So we, to have control over, like, we did reduce the R2 zone. So it's 50, now 50 and 5,000. But we talked about an even smaller lot size, maybe 30 by 40. But to keep control, we would do it by development agreement. So we went through that exercise. We even had a public meeting on it. And people, couple people came, yeah, guess we need it, and didn't have any objection to it. But then Jolie changed her mind and said, no, I'm just gonna go with the 50 by 100. So it kind of died. But that would be one other thing we could bring back to see what people thought of it.
No, you probably, with the current, we'll just sort of keep it summer here till we see the demand again, probably.
Yeah.
Get through some of these others.
Yeah, sure. So has there been any requests for?
No.
Interesting.
That was the only one.
I think it tends more to draw towards, I think you're gonna see a big push in areas that have access to public transit is where.
Yeah.
The big demands to see for that.
We did get some inquiries about more mini homes over that area, but it kind of died out. I don't know which lot it was. I think it was Lee. When Lee was here, she called me and I said, well, yeah, we do have a mobile home subdivision. We have a mobile home park, which is all one landowner. They rent out. We also have policy for a subdivision. If somebody wants to come in and do a subdivision where people own their lawn, put their mini home on them. They can do that, but the lot sizes aren't any smaller than R1 now, or R2. So we can reduce that. I think it'd be a good idea to reduce that at some point. Maybe.
So it makes it somewhat more affordable.
Yeah, well, just think how many lots you can get. You get twice as many homes on the same amount of road frontage. 2.5 times if we go 50 to 20.
We have that huge one down my way in Windsor area. It's a huge.
Yeah,
You know,
is that a subdivision or a park?
it's both now.
Oh, it's both now, okay,
The earlier phases were a park, and
okay,
you paid lot rental,
yeah,
and you had your tiny little spot, you're
yeah,
fairly small, some of them are very small units, but I mean, I'm not sure how much more affordable they're.
Well, yeah.
The prices are going down.
they're up there.
It's the same price of what single family home used to be.
Used to be.
You
But now
know,
the single family's gone up so much now.
Yeah, and that it's the whole affordability
Yeah,
issue.
yeah, you wouldn't get twice as many, but you get almost twice as many for the same amount of road frontage. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you very much.
Go ahead, Ed.
I was just gonna bring up, you mentioned a transportation study. And I see now at Wittenberg, they're starting to develop. Good subdivision that's going in on Wittenberg.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
I know.
There's a couple.
I think that's a larger yard unit.
yeah, the long and short of the story is, the only way that they can get to the 102 is to come down Kitchener Street. And so now, I live on Kitchener Street, so I can count the cars every 10 minutes, so they're not gonna jump. But what about Highway 2, trying to get out now on Highway 2? So I've observed a couple times, like 15 cars in front of me. And then up the road, so, and I realized the provincial government looks after Highway 2, I get that. But they may not be highly motivated to do anything until maybe we do a transportation study. To say, look, all this traffic is coming this way.
This JRTC, is that part of this?
Well, traffic counts were done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
What's the traffic counts now? And there's nowhere near the traffic then to justify doing anything.
Well, that may be 2 years ago.
Yeah, well, I don't know, I don't know, since I've been here, everyone talks to me about the traffic onto, I don't know how many times I drive up there. Many times up across the highway. I've never been more than the fourth vehicle line stop sign, which is normal anywhere else in the world, is being low
I
traffic.
was today, and you actually, if you come at the right time, and it's a very short window, and it's,
Yeah, there is a
I
short
think
window.
rush.
I see it
Yeah.
coming the other way, 60 to 7.
Yeah, but I've seen it.
45 tonight.
I timed it today, yes, and it took me 8 minutes to get through.
Yeah.
Which is not crazy,
It's
but
just
it's Stewie, I'm sitting there for 8 minutes when you're up at past Southway.
I go get back to my home, my wife comes home, it's a certain window, but you've got 15 minutes, just let's just wait.
Well, see, I go from Food Line down in behind now, and come down Highway 2. I don't even bother with stuff.
Well, being that's a lot of people now, that's
I don't-
half the
I
reason
don't-
it takes so long to get across, because
Yeah.
people don't go down to work, but they'll talk
Okay.
about food land and dark, so you're
The
waiting.
only
for
reason I'm
all those
raising
people.
is my concern about the subdivision development that's now taking place. And on Sunday morning, I noticed they were in there starting to work. And I mean, it may be 5 years before there's a house in there, I'm not saying,
Is that the one day that they have the larger lots?
yeah, one and a half and 2 acres.
Because of no services.
Yeah, that's right, you need it for your.
Oh, yeah,
That's Joe's.
that's Joe,
Yeah, Julie,
yeah,
There's another one just down from here.
And it's just
They're
another-
new too, live right across
it
from
just-
the old dump.
yeah, just started,
Yeah.
yeah. So they put in 100 houses each. That's another 200 cars going down 15th Street. Oh, well.
Yeah, no, the town should, actually, I did a draft terms of reference for a study, I took one from the west somewhere. It's hard to get one for small places, actually, but anyway, I did find one. And,
I don't think we need to do it this week or next.
no,
week.
no, but we should put it on as a future action, you know, I mean, the policy's there, just gotta.
And there's a lot of new houses down there too.
And it's only cars, it's inclusive too, it's meant to be inclusive, like walking and biking too, so,
Oh, yeah.
you know. That idea is.
But we're releasing a phase 2 of this coming through as in Cape Breton. East Lawrence there and stuff with phase 2. And our kid, whoever's in that portfolio now, right, just a whole lot of talking, but it's the same talk.
I will grant you, there was a lot of traffic yesterday, but 90% of it was the North Spreaders.
I could smell it.
Like, I'm used to seeing the North Spreaders, so that's like, but I'm not used to seeing a 7 in a row.
I don't think I've ever seen that either.
I'm used to seeing the North Spreader go on a fair, but that many? Wow.
I went downstairs.
You got,
Lake Beach, it was that bad.
Got different times about second accesses off of certain areas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Say,
yeah,
yeah,
Like St. Andrews.
Yeah.
There's a couple other places.
yeah, that's right.
yeah, I think there, the long term, I think it's very valid long term, but is how you, is there something we did the other end with George somehow with that
Yeah,
intersection?
but that's one of the things transportation stuff
Yeah.
we do, would we pick out places where it's the best places for them.
It's that darn sharpness of that turn, it makes it, it's not gonna be something a lot of people use, right? So. And the
Oh,
speed
right.
was there, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd take a
As
short
Ronnie
cut
said,
and put
he
it
mentioned
center.
St. Andrew Street, but St. Andrew Street is, traffic is getting
It is.
headed
Mhm.
And
on
it's,
St. Andrews because of all the development at the end.
Mhm.
And as you say, there's no exit.
walking it, there, people walk, a lot of walking.
A lot.
Oh,
And it-
Meadows Hill, somebody is going to get hit on that
That's
hill.
right.
There, it's been a nightmare, I mean, I grew up on St. Andrew Street, so it's always, but I hold my breath going over it almost every time I go and shop.
I won't let Rachel walk, like when we're
No.
at my dad's house and she wants to go for a walk, I won't let her walk up and down my street.
No.
She'll walk downtown from my house.
Cause people don't realize it's a blind press,
Yeah.
when they come over, they'll swing
Yeah.
around somebody else and boom, there's an oil truck.
We lived
parked.
there for years and we know that you
Yeah.
wouldn't expect kids in that hill.
Oh,
And they ride fast on the
That's
street.
right.
Very
Especially the motorcycles
Mhm.
yeah,
People
The four-wheelers.
Came from rock.
and four-wheelers, motorcycles. They love our street.
Mom got out, you know, sugar fist, like a
You'll
crazy
haul
old lady.
I don't think a broom handle on the motorbikes.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Maybe they'll slow down,
yeah,
but they're only going to the top of the hill. It's further to go.
Denver, that's being recorded.
Good.
Next meeting is 19th, sorry, June 19th.
June 19th sounds, yeah, I think that is. We did
I'm
that
not
for
sure if I'll be at that one, for June's a busy month.
You mentioned about your beginning here before we begin our meeting. Just up our street is a place called Indian Hill
Yes,
Which side?
on Shenango Street.
really.
Move up the first hill, that's called, always was, Indian Hill. Apparently, that was a rest area when they're moving one place to the other, was up on top of that hill.
The Indian pond back there.
Yeah, it means now Medicine Hill, but it used to be
At that time.
Indian Hill.
Anything else?
Okay, well, thank you all, and we'll see some of you, most of you like the end of the night,
Adjourn.
So are we just emailing about the eighth or potential of the eighth or the eighth to confirm? the
Yeah,
8th?
yeah.
Well, I'll be in touch tomorrow.
The other thing we could do, I'll go to your. daughter's
I mean,
side.
it would be nice to get a better,
I could bring that costume downstairs and run that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it would